planning.
So you think the 2024 budget is a mess?
It's a mess. That's where you start with. You have a budget that gets that messy. You allowed it. And I understand. The president was a former senator. The vice president was a former senator. The SGF was a former senator. The minister for budget and planning was a former senator. So definitely looks like maybe in their thinking, looks like they've outsourced the budget to the legislative part of the government to decide and to drive. It looks like, because for me,
so the budget is a disaster from your own point of view.
1.2 trillion naira projects to the budget, and what's the business of federal government in buying cars for traditional rulers? What's the business of federal government in building 10 million naira town buildings? What's the business of the federal government in doing solar lighting at every nook and cranny? When we know that these projects is just part of the procurement industrial complex. Just a few people trying to insert their own interest into the budget.
Money for the boys.
The federal government is supposed to focus on the big pipe projects and let the state and LGH function as they should.
So it's a recipe for disaster from your own point of view.
That's where you start. That's where the problem starts. So you can't get a control of the fiscal side. Whatever Mr. Cardoso is doing is like is half of the basin. It's not going to ever be enough until you have a bit of control on the fiscal side. And if your capital expenditure, you don't have control over it. I mean, it's not your salary. How much are you paying in salaries? It's not the salaries that is the problem. Your capital, your FX, if it's not going to the productive component of the economy, definitely you know that a chunk of that will be wasted, will be pocketed. So what happens after?
The monetary side looks like we may be getting somewhere, but the fiscal side,
we are not. And that's the same thing with trade. Look at us in trade. We have to be honest. What are we doing by trade? When we say what's the trade policy of the Tinubu government? The person who is manning the trade or who is leading the trade, let me use the proper word, the trade ministry, does he have the requisite experience in a very, we know the terrain of global trade? Those are the questions that you need to. And also when you look at Tinubu's government, you start with the budget, not good enough. You look at the cabinet, not good enough.
The cabinet for you is not good enough.
It's not good enough. And then you now even look at policies of, Yoruba people say, Sunkere, Fakere. We are forward today, 10 steps forward today, then we move 10 steps backwards.
But would you say that cabinet even under Buhari was better than this?
I won't say that. I mean, many people who have distinguished themselves. There's one quote by Jose Mourinho. He says, when they leave our club, we will see where they play, how they play, if they play. Somebody leaves government, what becomes of them? That's when you know the quality. And the Okonjo-Iweala is out of government. But is she jobless? Omobola Johnson, is she jobless?
Additional,
is he jobless? Those are people that you don't have quality. You go and bring someone who is a retired military guy, and you say, okay, Sabu Nanuno, Minister of Agriculture, entire disaster. What kind of cabinet is that? And you carry a minister, put someone, Mr. Adamu, 8 years, nearly 8 years, Minister of Education. Where is his legacy? Those are the questions. We flirt with mediocrity.
So Jonathan even has a better cabinet than Buhari and Tinubu put together.
I mean, things have changed, and the Nigerians don't pay attention to it. We have become a system of, if you don't work with us, if you don't campaign for us, you don't get the opportunity. And I think that's what it has become. I was in that situation once. So if you don't, so we have become a situation where by the time you run the map of who is in cabinet, this is what this person did and this is what this person, you will have a sprinkle of a few people who come in and play, but by the time you look at it, it's more political operatives. I'm not saying that you can't be an efficient political operative. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that most times people like that are much more driven by their political objectives. I'm a minister, I want to be a senator. I'm a senator, I want to be a governor. And so they forget about the core of what their mandate should be.
So if you look at it, if you were President Tinubu, by May 29, a lot of those guys in cabinet will go.
He doesn't need to wait till May 29.
You think he needs to sack some people?
He needs to rejig that cabinet. He needs to bring people in that can make him succeed. Because I want to see him succeed. There's no gain in all the advocacy we are doing as budget. And we continue to rehash the issues. We want him to succeed. But you need the kind of people who have, who would distinguish themselves, who are driven by some form of higher purpose, because that's what we want to see. But most times you see that a lot of people are even in the cabinet, and if you ever forget that they were minister. Remember one day I was in Akure, and one guy told me he was a minister. I said, you were a minister? Which agency? Which minister? I never heard of you. And that's how, I mean, the people being in that government, that you could see that they are sweating. They are pushing a lot of effort to make sure that they leave that place with a sense of legacy. And I think that's what it should be. He has to. And luckily, he has Mr. Adiza Bala Usman. So she said she's the one, setting the performance tracker.
Yeah.
So let's see where that will lead. The citizens also have an opportunity to contribute to that. I advise citizens to go ahead and contribute to that too.